Hey guys, today I want to talk about how easily truth can be rewritten. When someone goes missing and the people closest to them sound the alarm, saying things like, he's been taken, those words matter. But months down the line, those same statements are being reframed as the product of online hysteria or trolling. So today, I want to look at how public concern gets reshaped, why early fears are now being dismissed, and what that says about who gets to control the narrative. When 19-year-old Jay Slater vanished in Tenerife in June 2024, it wasn't just a missing persons case. It was a media storm, a global spotlight, a mystery that, right from the beginning, felt off. And at the heart of that mystery, one word kept creeping in: kidnapping. This wasn't a random theory invented by internet sleuths. No, in fact, those first to speak it into the atmosphere were the very people closest to Jay, his best friend, and his own mother. Let's go back to the start. Jay had traveled to Tenerife with friends to attend a music festival, a typical lad's holiday. Sun, parties, nightlife. But by Monday, June 17th, everything had changed. He was last seen leaving a rural Airbnb in Masca, a remote mountainous region of the island, reportedly trying to get back to his accommodation after a night out. He called a friend, sounded lost, confused, said he had 1% battery left, and then nothing. From that point forward, chaos, panic, fear, and crucially, suspicion. Jay's friend Lucy Law gave an emotional interview to the press just days later. Speaking to the Daily Mail on June 19, 2024, she said, "He's not stupid. If he left the house on his own, he would have walked to the road and either hitchhiked or stopped someone for help. He's been taken." That's not vague. That's not a misquote. That's a direct assertion from someone who had spent time with Jay in Tenerife. Someone who had firsthand insight into Jay's final hours, his route, his behavior, and the conversations he was having with friends in real time. The following day, her fears deepened. In another interview published on June 20th, Lucy said, "It's been 3 days now since he was last seen, and the more time goes on, the more I'm sure he has been taken." Another clear signal from the same person, someone who was with Jay during that trip. Someone who had shared time, conversations, and context in the lead-up to his disappearance. And she wasn't alone. Jay's mom, Debbie Duncan, who flew out to Tenerife within hours of hearing the news, made a gut-wrenching plea to the media. If anyone does have him, just let him go. He's not a bad person. That's not the language of someone who thinks their son wandered off or had an accident. That's the language of a mother who believes her child is in danger, who fears he's being held by someone, who is speaking directly to a person or people she believes are responsible. Now, fast forward, nearly a year later. Those same quotes, the same fears, the same gut instincts, are now being dismissed, brushed aside. Worse still, they're being reframed, not as genuine concerns, but as reckless statements, fuel for trolls, inspiration for online conspiracies. But ask yourself, why? Why the need to rewrite? Why this subtle shift in tone? In those crucial early hours, family and friends weren't speculating for attention. They were reacting to what they knew, to what they'd seen, to what they'd heard in private. The mood among those closest to Jay wasn't confusion, it was fear, urgency, something wasn't right. But over time, as the official investigation in Tenerife moved forward, or stalled, depending on who you ask, things began to change. Spanish authorities were quick to dismiss foul play. They suggested Jay had likely become disoriented, walked off alone, and tragically met his end somewhere in the rugged terrain. It's a convenient theory, it wraps things up. No foul play, no international incident, no pressure. And slowly, the public narrative began to echo that version. The media stopped focusing on the kidnap angle. Search updates became rarer. And the early quotes, those emotional, desperate pleas, were all but scrubbed from the timeline. But the internet didn't forget. Online communities continued to ask questions. Where were the CCTV cameras? Why were certain details about the Airbnb guests so vague? Why were Jay's phone records so hard to obtain? And crucially, Why did those closest to him initially believe he was taken? That's when the labels began. TikTok sleuths, keyboard detectives, online trolls. People raising real questions, often with receipts and archived footage, were lumped in with people making wild, baseless claims. And the original source of the kidnap fears, Lucy's Daily Mail quote, Debbie's plea, were suddenly reframed as missteps, emotional outbursts, things that were taken out of context. But they weren't. They were said with conviction, said when fear was fresh and unfiltered. Some now say that even the early confusion itself was caused by trolls, online users who were allegedly posting false leads, fake sightings, or stirring panic. That claim gets repeated often. You hear it in the press, in police briefings, in the comments sections. It's become the go-to excuse. People just got confused because of online hysteria. But here's the question. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence that any of the early fears, especially the ones expressed by family and friends, came from hoaxes rather than heartfelt concerns? Which messages specifically were fake? Which early reports were confirmed to be deliberate disinformation? What usernames? What timestamps? Show us the trail. Show us the audit trail of these alleged troll accounts that somehow overrode the voices of people who were literally on the island with Jay Slater. Because the truth is, we haven't been shown that. We've been told, repeatedly, but not shown. It's one thing to say trolls later got involved. That part is true. Yes, some anonymous accounts on TikTok and Facebook absolutely muddied the waters in the weeks and months that followed. They made up sightings, claimed knowledge they didn't have, paraded rumors as facts. That happens in nearly every high-profile case now. But that's not the same as rewriting the first 48 hours of this investigation. It's not the same as saying none of the panic was real, that all the chaos was just noise, generated by faceless trolls hiding behind profile pictures and burner accounts. That simply doesn't line up with the facts. Because when Lucy Law said he's been taken, she wasn't quoting a troll. When Debbie Duncan cried, "Let him go," she wasn't reacting to fake news. They were responding to their own fear, their own instincts, their own sense that something had gone very wrong. So when people try to dismiss that as trolling, that's not just unfair. That's deliberate erasure. Let's also talk about the selective memory at play here. Because mainstream outlets and officials seem more than happy to highlight the worst examples of online sleuth culture. Wild theories, doctored images, chaotic live streams. But they're far less willing to address the genuine red flags that those same communities raised. The inconsistencies in the friends' accounts, where timelines, details, and tone shifted repeatedly across interviews. The implausible decision Jay supposedly made to embark on an 11-hour mountain walk, alone and out of signal. The friends' reluctance to participate in the physical search effort, staying in resorts while volunteers and locals combed the terrain. Lucy's now infamous back-to-camera interview, which added to the sense of something being hidden or left unsaid. And Brad's 12-day disappearance from public view right after Jay vanished, despite being a central figure in the trip. Were all those questions raised by trolls? Or were many of them raised by ordinary people simply paying attention? The term troll has become a blunt weapon, used to discredit anyone who dares to scrutinize the official narrative. And when you label everyone asking tough questions as part of a toxic online mob, you create a chilling effect. You silence real curiosity. You push grieving families into isolation. And you allow institutions to avoid accountability. So let's be crystal clear. There is zero public evidence that trolls caused the original confusion. There is no concrete proof that those early quotes from friends and family were rooted in fake messages or hoaxes. There's no timeline proving that hysteria was externally manipulated before it was internally felt. If such evidence exists, publish it. Release the digital audit. Show the messages that supposedly sparked this misinformation wave. Because until that happens, blaming trolls for what Jay's own circle saw, felt, and feared is nothing more than a convenient deflection. Let's not allow truth to be buried under buzzwords. Let's not mistake institutional silence for clarity. And let's not forget, sometimes the loudest cries of troll come from those who are simply uncomfortable with the truth being messy, unfiltered, or unapproved. So before you dismiss the earliest warnings as internet hysteria, ask yourself, who benefits from pretending they were never real? We remember how this began. Let's not rewrite it. Let's demand answers. Let's keep asking questions. And above all, let's not forget what they told us from the start. Thanks for watching, and as always, I look forward to your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.